Hi. So today I've joined my husband in his world. This is what really makes him, you know. So family day. Today we are playing Scrabble, and as we are playing Scrabble, we thought of just having a certain discussion that we've been thinking about, and you know, many times when we suffer or people go through suffering, we ask ourselves questions. And honestly speaking, for me, there is a time I believed that suffering was not for a Christian, because when I'm a Christian, I have God, and I, 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 everything is okay, sadly, but as you look down and as you continue living and you continue learning and looking at God's word, you actually realize that suffering is part of us.
Actually,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
yeah, it is. I think one of the notions that we've had, or even me, is the moment you become a Christian,
Yeah.
then you start into this new world
Yeah.
where it is painless, it is stress-free and everything.
Yeah.
But as you continue to live as a Christian, you actually realize that that is far from the reality. Mambo kwa ground ni tofauti.
Oh yeah.
And you actually just realize that as a Christian,
Yeah.
you are not out of the world. You are actually in the world,
That's true.
going through the same challenges,
Yeah.
same pain, same suffering that everybody else goes through. And so I think that it's a topic worth talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's why today we want to talk about depression in Christians. Does depression really happen in Christians? And maybe we can even start by asking ourselves, what is depression? Because lately I've actually realized that it's such a deep topic that we need to talk about. It's so close to us, yet we can act as if it's not happening, and so we want to talk about it, and especially as Christians, so maybe we can begin by talking about what is depression really, and probably how does it manifest itself in Christians.
Yeah, I think for me, and maybe I'll use a layman's language to express what I think.
Yeah.
Depression is just going through extreme stress.
Yeah.
I think for me, it just starts by stress. When you are stressed about life,
Yeah.
and it escalates
Yeah.
to a higher level. If we are talking about a 1 to 5,
Yeah.
and maybe you are at 1, you are just stressed about the normal things. But when it reaches level 4, 5, then you start going through those boundaries that now affects your normal behavior or normal coping mechanisms. It just changes your world.
Yeah.
And now the stress now become more prevalent than otherwise.
Yeah.
Then I think we start talking about depression.
Wow, that is so true. Indeed, depression is when one feels really, really, really sad, and I like what you've said actually, and also not just the normal sadness. There is the sadness that we feel on a daily basis, but it is that sadness that you have no control over.
Yeah.
And it begins to affect your daily living. It starts to affect how you think, how you feel, and how you
react, how you respond.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the moment your those three areas starts to be affected, then you can actually start to see depression. And remember, depression grows.
Yeah.
Yeah. And as you're saying, it is that stress that we go through. And as you're saying, life is hard. There are many things that happen that can cause the stress, the suffering, the turmoil that we're talking about. But now when it gets to affect our feelings, our emotions, and our behavior, then that's what we're saying is stress. So what are some of the signs that somebody can know that, hey, I think I'm stressed now. I think this stress is not it's not eustress, it is distress. Because it can actually get from eustress, which we say is good normal stress.
Yeah.
But now when it gets to distress, then that is where you actually become somebody who needs to see a doctor. So what are some of the signs? Maybe we can talk about it. As I have to think about which word to put here.
Yeah, I think there are quite a number of things.
Yeah.
And they actually happen to different people differently. And of course, they are definitely the common ones that majority of the people go through. The ones personally, because even me, I've been, depressed from time to time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it starts by just you feel sad. You are not happy about the happenings of life. Even the things that ordinarily would make you feel happy and feel excited, all of a sudden they don't, they don't bring that joy or happiness to you.
Yeah.
You know, the hobbies that you used to do, all of a sudden starts really just being boring.
Yeah.
You start to withdraw from people, from just the social places.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes you actually just feel like, you want to be alone. You want, some people, sometimes, man, you just want to be sleeping.
Yeah.
Because really life is making no sense. You just feel tired, and you feel like you don't have excitement about life and about doing things. Sometimes at night, instead of sleeping, you actually stay awake prolonged. So you just keep on turning, keep on turning in bed. Yeah,